Hello everyone, I'm Vishal Salsekar and today we are going to cover the News Today articles for 8th May. So in today's discussion, we are going to cover 5 important articles in detail. But these articles are mainly around the data. These are mainly around the report, specifically around NCRB report and certain other data related news. So in these particular news, what we are going to do? We are going to have a discussion briefly regarding that particular news, but other than that, there is a data which is very important from the mains perspective. So there will be a recommendation from my side that when you are reading these particular news, do not just skim through the news, have a pen and paper with you, and along with that jot down this particular data. And jab bhi you are writing answer regarding this, whether regarding the healthcare in India, which is the aging and the senior related healthcare in India, or the geriatric healthcare in India, you will get the data over here. Prison related statistics, you will get the data over here. NITI Aayog report on the school education system, you will get the data. NCRB report regarding the suicides in India, accidental deaths in India, you will get the data, fact and example. So the point is, do not just go through this particular news as like a set of news. It will provide you the data that can substantiate your argument, that can substantiate your answer, right? So that's why these 5 articles we are going to cover comprehensively, but at the same point of time, more focus will be towards certain type of trend and data. Having covered these particular news article, then we will talk about the places in news, and here it is going to be Suriname, that is the places in news, and then there are certain other quick updates that we are going to talk about. So let's start the discussion with the very first news article regarding the NCRB report. And in this particular NCRB, this report provides the comprehensive accounts of fatalities, right? Now, there are data regarding the accidental death. There is data regarding the suicides in India. What exactly is the trend? Because UPSC keeps on asking question like this. UPSC ने question पूछा था regarding the suicide among the young women in India. Now, this particular data talks about that over a period of time, how this particular trend got changed, right? कि किस तरीके से there has been a change observed with respect to the death because of the suicide, right? And eventually in these particular cases, this NCRB report is going to help you in order to substantiate your argument, right? So from the perspective of GS paper 2, governance, social justice, polity, this is an important article. And GS paper 3, internal security, apart from the disaster management, and along with that to some extent, these particular report, because whenever there is a crime, there is a social aspect to the crime also, and that's why you will get some perspective from the aspect of society also, right? Now, what exactly is the context of this particular news? So the context is that accidental deaths and suicides in India 2024, which is basically the report, and this particular report is going to be covered in 2 articles specifically we are going to talk about. In this particular article, it is regarding the accidental deaths in India. Now the report says that it provides the data on the accidental deaths due to the forces of nature, means basically due to the natural forces, maybe because of lightning, maybe because of the heat stroke. So these are the forces of nature, and because of which when there is the fatality, that particular thing is the accidental death. And other causes including the traffic, road accident, because see, whenever there are any other aspect other than the natural forces, that can also lead to the accidental deaths, right? And in those particular cases, we can talk about the other causes including the traffic and road accidents. Now, what exactly is the data? Again, this particular news article is comprehensively covering the different set of data. Now, what you can do, you can write regarding the aspect and then the data with respect to that. So the first thing, it talks about the rate of accidental deaths. Now, what exactly is the rate of accidental death? It has increased to roughly 33.3% in 2024 in this particular report from 31.9. So simply the trend says that there has been an increasing trend in the deaths because of the accidents, right? It is overall accidental deaths. Now, maximum casualties that are reported in the age group from where, like 30 to 45 years. So this is the most vulnerable age group. So 30 to 45 years, and you can assume that the youth is at this particular age, and this youth is the most vulnerable because of the accidents. Next is accident due to the forces of nature. Now, what are the forces of nature? These are basically certain uncontrollable factors, or maybe not widely controllable factor. So in this particular case, there has been 7,903 deaths, 35.7% due to lightning, 23% due to the heat, sunstroke. Obviously, these are the natural forces. Apart from the 10.5 due to the exposure to cold. So whether it is extreme heat, whether it is extreme cold, whether it is any type of other issues like lightning. So there is the fact that is being provided by this report that roughly 35% से ज़्यादा death is being observed due to the lightning, right? So this is one such important fact to be noted. Apart from that, when we talk about certain specific region, just say there is Madhya Pradesh. In Madhya Pradesh, it is highest the accidents due to the forces of nature. Then there is Bihar. Then there is Uttar Pradesh. Now it is in a specific category which is the death because of the lightning. Now, बिजली गिरने से जो deaths होती हैं, these are those particular deaths that we are talking about, right? So, two facts you have got regarding the rate of accidental death and due to the forces of nature. Apart from that, what are the other causes of the accidental death? Because in this particular article regarding the NCRB report, we are talking about the accidental deaths. Now, roughly it is talking about like 4,59,594. Roughly you can assume like 4.5 lakh death that has been reported, and with a greater share of men as compared to women. So men are more vulnerable because of the accidents due to death, and that's why there is a larger number of men as compared to women. Next, talking about the major causes. So there is traffic accidents, because see, here we are not talking about the natural forces that we have already discussed. Now it is other causes, right? So accidental deaths mein, traffic accidents mein, it is 43%. Then there is sudden death, maybe because of cardiac, maybe because of stroke, right? Then there is the drowning because of the water and other things, right? Then there is fall, then there is poisoning, there is electrocution, right? Now see, no need to go into that micro detail, but you should be having an idea regarding these are the probable causes of death because of accidents. Now fire accident, another most important thing, and you should be having an idea regarding this. Now see, whenever there is any unfortunate or unforeseen circumstances that takes place and because of which there is some kind of fire tragedy, now in those cases, if you have to write the answer, you should need some sort of data, and this NCRB report ka data is going to help you in order to substantiate your argument. So you can talk about that roughly 5,971 cases of reported fire accident causes 5,888 deaths in 2024. So this is the number of cases and this is the number of deaths. So you can have an idea regarding that what exactly was the data or 2024's ka most updated data. Now talking about the road accidents, another most predominant aspect of accident. So contributed to the largest share. अब इसमें railways की बात करें, so there are certain things जहां पर accidents हुए हैं, but the casualties or the deaths which is nil. Right, so the deaths is nil. Other than that, what may be the other type of accidents? It may be the road accidents, right? So major causes क्या होता है? Overspeeding, primary cause contributing roughly 61.2% of the road accident. So it is obvious that the road aspect में there is the overspeeding वाला thing that is going to be the most predominant. Then the greater accidents were reported from the rural areas. So rural areas versus urban areas. Now you can assume that rural areas में comparatively there was lack of the infrastructure, and that's why that particular region was more prone, right? Now, other than that, 31.2% of the total road accidents were reported near the residential areas. These are certain facts. See, in these particular report type of news article, there is no much conceptual aspect involved, but there is more data that you can have an idea about. Now, place that particular data according to the theme and try to ensure that at least for that particular thing, we should remember one or two set of data. If you are able to ensure this much, then your answer is going to be comprehensive and you will be able to fetch comparatively good marks, right? So the next article again, as the follow-up to this only, that NCRB report observes decrease in the suicide rates in 2023-24. Now, the same report, accident and the suicide in India, in that particular report of NCRB, there has been observation that now there has been decline in the suicide. A minor decline, but yes, it is a decline. Now, again, similar type of aspect that we can relate in the syllabus, right? Now, what exactly is context? That the accidental deaths and suicide in India 2024 reports highlight that the rate of suicide per lakh, means the suicides per lakh population, how much it was? It was 12.3 in 2023 and now 12.2. That means there is 0.1 ka decrease per lakh population as per the NCRB ka report, accidental deaths and suicides in India. Now, the another thing that we have to highlight in this particular article is like what are the key highlights? Because see, When we have to talk about data, again the key highlights gives you an idea regarding what are the major factors of suicide, right? So there will be various factors. There may be mental trauma, there will be family side pressure, there may be any other type of things, relationship issues, right? And all these situations might be leading into the suicide related issues. So the causative factor it is talking about, so the family problems. So this is one of the most important, one of the most major issue that is leading to the situations like suicide. So this is other than the marriage related problem, and roughly this is 33.5%. So 1/3 ke around, this is the causative factor of suicide, the family problem. Then there is illness, roughly 18%. Drug abuse or addiction, again because of which the body is going to get addicted to the drugs, and that might eventually lead to later on in the later part of the life there may be suicide like condition. So drug addiction 7.6%, and all together all of these combined to 59% of the total suicide in India. So the family problem is one of the most important, most major situation of suicide. Then the state wise distribution mein, which is the highest reported state, so it is the majority were reported in the Maharashtra, then there is Tamil Nadu. Now this is about the reporting. Maybe chance ki bhai kisi और states में the instances might be more, but then that might not have been reported adequately, and that's why this might not be included in this report. That's why in Maharashtra, then followed by Tamil Nadu. Next is Delhi. Delhi reported the highest number of suicide. Roughly it is 2,905 among the UTs. So in the UTs, obviously it is going to be Delhi because of the largest amount of population in the union territory. Then it is followed by the Puducherry because other union territories ka size is comparatively small. Now what are the key highlights of the report? So again, in the key highlights of the report, first is regarding the, other than those things that we have already discussed, the education status, because see, assume that you are a well-educated individual. Now you will be in a position to decide what is going to be good for you, what might be going to be bad for you. So the chances are high that you will be rationally trying to think all these particular scenarios, and then you will decide not to commit any type of these things. So in that cases, if you are educated, chances are high that you might not be able to take or might not be taking that particular step. So education, only 5.6% of total suicide victims were graduate. So that means those who have graduated or they are the graduate individual, chances of suicide are comparatively less, only 5% के around. 10% were illiterate. So लगभग 10% वो थे जो illiterate थे. That's why this is going to show the correlation between the education level or your mental aptitude vis-a-vis the chances that you might be committing suicide. Then the trends in the cities. So in the cities, it is 16.3. We have talked about that roughly it is all across India level pe, the average is 12.2. Right? In the cities, it is somewhat around like 16.3 per lakh, and villages may it is going to be comparatively lesser. Then obviously because of the city life, there will be a lot of pressure, there may be anxiety, there may be other issues because of the city. The comparatively the inflation related issues is also more predominant in cities, right? Then the professional status of the suicide victim. So among the male suicide, the maximum suicides were committed by daily wage earners, because see, they are the most vulnerable one. Suppose karo because of certain reason, if they might not be able to earn for 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, then they will be the most impacted individual one, right? Because they are just living on the basis of that whatever they are going to earn, that will be spent on the very same day, right? So they do not have much buffer with them. Among the female, the highest number was the housewife. UPSC ने इस trend पे question पूछा हुआ. UPSC in the mains they have asked the question. Now I am assuming that if you are watching this particular video, just see that question and try to write that what might be the factors, right? Because at that point of time also इस तरीके की ही report आई थी, and then through that report this issue and aspect became important. Next is in farming sector, because other than the male who might be the daily wage earners, apart from that female who are the housewives, there are also the farming sector जहाँ पर there are agricultural labor, and those are also not having much buffer available, and that's why they are also one such vulnerable population. So 10,546 around person, which is the 6.2% of the accounted total suicide victims. So total suicides में से roughly 6.2% is by the farming sector individuals. So overall agar dekhe ratio, so it is more men as compared to women. So men roughly 73%, female it is roughly 26%. So you can assume that the more suicide tendency is found in the male, right? Now what measures the government of India has taken? There were certain measures, and see, as and when these particular situation gets aggravated, time and again government takes certain actions. Now in terms of acts and policies means certain statutory aspect, So there is national mental health policy, because many a time there is the rise of anxiety piles up in the form of stress. This particular stress ultimately result into the mental health related issues, and this is generally considered as a taboo in Indian society, and that's why we do not discuss, and that's why the people take this particular step jahan pe they attempt the suicide. So national mental health policy, then mental health care act. Apart from that, national jo health related act tha, that also incorporated the mental health act. Apart from that national mental health program, these are certain things which are focusing upon the mental health of an individual. Then there is the national suicide prevention strategy. It was launched in 2022 to cut the suicide related mortalities in India, right? So basically, see, we can get certain early symptoms, and if we are able to address the root causes, then the chances of the committing of suicide are going to get reduced. Then there are schemes and initiatives जैसे आयुष्मान भारत scheme है. There is the Manodarpan by the Ministry of Education, Telemanas. So all these things are focusing mainly upon the mental health. If you are mentally in the well-being wala situation, chances of committing suicide is going to get drastically reduced, and that's why it is very, very important aspect. So you have to focus upon the holistic and the comprehensive mental health in order to deal with this situation. The next article is regarding NITI Aayog releases report on the school education system in India. Now see, school education related article, so obviously it is going to be related to the social justice along with that sense, and GS paper 2, right? Since school education is going to give the tomorrow's future dividend, and that's why from the economic development perspective, GS paper 3, it is important, right? So the governance, social justice, human capital development, right? So these are the important thing. Now this is again talking about the report, and this particular report gives an idea regarding the school education system in India. So it will be a comprehensive case study regarding the critical analysis of the school education system in India. Now see, what exactly is the context? So in this particular article, the context is basically that this specific school education related issues ke context mein the comprehensive and the decadal analysis has been provided, and this talks about that different parameters were taken, jaise access, enrollment, infrastructure, learning outcomes, equity, and all these basis pe we have understood that what exactly is the status of school education in India, and this is being prepared by the NITI Aayog. Now what it is talking about, it is talking about the scale, it is talking about data. Now massive scale, it is saying that roughly 14.1 lakh 71 lakh around schools serving 24.69 crore students. So roughly this much number of students who are enrolled in the school education, those who are enrolled. Now see, gross enrollment ratio shows that how much are the actual people who are enrolled in the school, and over a period of time, jaise the classes increases, just suppose from the first to second to third to fourth, how much the people are getting transferred from one class to another class. So the primary gross enrollment ratio is roughly 90.9, which is a high, right? But then this starts getting dropped when we come to the secondary 78.7 and higher secondary 58.4. Now this is because of the high drop rate at the later part, and why this takes place? Because of many factors, because of maybe the earning pressure, because of, let's say, maybe you might not be having that much backing at your family, right? So you have to earn. So all these things eventually result in the dropout from the schools, or maybe because of any other reason. Now privatization, this is also one such major issue, that the privatization की वजह से there are maybe chances कि भाई inequality भी बढ़े, but at the same point of time, in order to propagate the education to many such strata, the privatization also helped, right? So the privatization, government school enroll roughly 49% के around students, private unaided school increase their share to 38.8. So that means now it's not only the domination of the government school, private school which can provide comparatively in a better manner the education, right? So that particular share is also increasing. Now talking about, now see, this particular report highlights that what are the basic factors जिस वजह से there are issues in the education, and then it is providing the recommendation also, right? It is divided into two parts. First is the systematic issues, second is the academic issues. Now let's talk about them one by one. Now systemic issues के बारे में अगर हम बात करें, पहला challenge है fragmented structure. Now in the case of fragmented structure, if suppose you start in class 1, the chances of completing till class 12 is comparatively lesser, and that's why only 5% continues from grade 1 to grade 12 schools, right? And the high prevalence of the single teacher schools. Generally क्या होता है कि it's not like there are multiple teachers. There is only one teacher. That individual teacher is going to take all the classes. So that means in those schools there are no multiple teacher, and that's why there is sometimes the monotony also, and that's why the dropout rate might also increase. Next is the infrastructural gap. So there is lack of advanced facilities, smart classrooms, and right now in the age of artificial intelligence, you will need all these things in order to build your capabilities with respect to the taking address of all these things which is pertaining to the artificial intelligence. Next is the teachers issue. So many a time there are vacancies, the posts are not getting filled, right? Apart from that, there is the multi-grade teaching, right? So this is also one such thing. Apart from that, there is burden of non-teaching duties, just election duties ho gayi, maybe in the certain type of awareness campaign, right? So see, this is not exactly major issue, but at the same point of time, if the resources are limited and if you are diverting the teacher into other duties, then the chances of reduction of the enrollment might increase. Next is the equity barrier. So disadvantaged groups, generally those who coming from the deprived section of society, then the migrants, girls, they faces the high dropout rate. Now see, this also has to be seen with the infrastructure, because many a time what happens that there is no separate toilet for the male and female. In that particular cases, chances are very high that the girls are going to drop out in the later part of their life, and that's why this is another set of issue. Now academic के context में देखें तो mainly the curriculum is filled with the rote learning, so the pedagogical flaws are also there. So mainly the things which are basically the mugging up of the fact, mugging up of the data, all these things. So this is also heavily relied upon in the education. Apart from that, the foundation, because see, if you compare it with the Scandinavian countries, they focuses more upon the capacity building. India mein it is like ensuring that you first gets graduation and then eventually later on you explore that where you want to get the ultimate capacity building and hands-on experiences. So real world skill transfer is comparatively lesser, and that's why there is a gap pertaining. Next is the early childhood care education, right? So whenever the child starts his or her education, the early childhood care and early childhood education is very, very important, and this is going to give that particular child the values, the morality, the learnings, all right. And in these particular cases, now the most important segment जो इसे target करता है is the आंगनवाड़ी. Now many a time आंगनवाड़ी faces infrastructural issues, many a time they have to be involved in certain other tasks, so there is no such collaboration between the primary schools and the आंगनवाड़ी. So overburden आंगनवाड़ी worker, lack of trained staff. Then lastly, another thing is the vocational marginalization, so treated as a peripheral option with the poor market links. And last is the student well-being, so lack of institutional support for the mental, physical, social health. So last article se bhi you can relate it. Now what are the policy recommendation in this particular regard? Again, the systemic issues ke liye policy recommendation, reform structure. So it talks about that fragmented structure ko, it ensures that you should continue from class 1 to class 12. There should be continuity, so that there should not be like people who should move from one school to another school. Let's say one school is from class 1 to class 5, then next is from 6 to 8, then 9 to 12, right? So instead of that, there should be a single school with the 1 to 12, maybe with the different wings. So composite schools, right? Complexes for the resource sharing, state district task force for the quality, school quality, right? So the qualitative aspect should also be focused upon. Boosting of the infrastructure, so basic amenities, integrate the STEM digital labs, okay? So these particular things have to be focused upon. Then optimizing the teachers, so as now that the teachers should be overburdened with the extra tasks that they have to sometime perform, so they should be adequately equipped in some time if there is that particular task, maybe the election duty or maybe like the initiative like Swachh Bharat mission. That's important, but at the same point of time, the resources should be in the adequate number. Apart from that, promoting the equity, so deploying the early warning system, gender inclusive sanitation, flexible re-entry path. Suppose karo once an individual has dropped out, now there should be availability of some entry at the later part of the life so that they can complete their education. Talking about the with the academic aspect, there is the transforming the pedagogy, so teaching at right level. Apart from that, localized curricular content and implementation, right? All these things should be there. Apart from that, strengthening the early childhood care and education, so co-locate Anganwadi with the primary school. So Anganwadi can help you to ensure that whether midday meal is being properly provided, capacity building is being done, and for the basic numeracy, for basic mathematics, for basic science, the school can provide the support because they have comparatively more individual who can provide the capacity building, right? Next is the mainstreaming the vocational education, so integrating the middle school, then building strong local industry linkages, because later on, once the youth is coming out of the schools, that youth should be productive, that youth should be skilled. If there is need to ensure certain set of employment, then the youth should be able to do that thing. Promoting the well-being, so wellness sessions, then physical activities, socio-emotional learning, right? Apart from that, integrating AI, because right now there has been the curriculum update, jahan pe class 3rd onward there has been introduction, and the government is thinking about introducing the artificial intelligence. So they responsibly introduce the AI. So responsibly introduce, and at the same point of time, responsible AI should be provided, and that should be provided from the very beginning, so that the people should be able to get a clear idea regarding what are the goods and bads of the artificial intelligence, right? So these are the challenges and the policy recommendation regarding the school education as per the NITI Aayog. Next article is regarding the prison statistics in India 2024. Again, another report released by the NCRB, National Crime Records Bureau. From paper 2, governance, social justice, polity. From paper 4, ethics, and paper 1, it is the internal security, where you can relate this particular article to. Now, what exactly is the highlight? Again, like in the last articles, 2 articles, we have already talked about NCRB report regarding accidental deaths, regarding the suicide. Now, again, this particular report again talks about the number of prison inmates, whether the prisons are overcrowded, whether the prisons are facing certain specific type of issues. All these things are being highlighted in this particular article. Again, this article is going to have comparatively more data, but then if you segment this data under different theme, so in that cases the data will be appear comparatively easy to you. अगर आप उसे as it is याद करने की कोशिश करोगे, it will not be fruitful for you, right? Now, what this particular report highlights, that first is regarding number of prisons, so increased by 0.1%. So the number of prisons increased 0.1%, say roughly 1333 prison at the national level. Actual capacity has also increased by 3.3%, while the number of prisoners lodged has decreased. So capacity increase and prisoners reduce. That means now there is comparatively lesser overcrowding than we can observe. Next is declining in the prison occupancy rate. So there has been decline, because then only there is going to be comparatively lesser number of people in more number of jails, right? So there was 120.8, matlab it was overcrowded, and now it is roughly 112.7. Though it is still overcrowded, but it is reducing, and that's why chances are very high. Within a span of 2 to 3 years, it will be below the actual capacity, right? Next is gender wise prisoner population, right? So 95% ke around it is male, 4.414% around female, and 122 ke around it is transgender. But the problem is that majority of the states ke case mein, there is no separate male and female jails, and that's what the major issue is. So more than 21 states and UTs do not have separate cells for women. So in that particular case, again, this is the causing infrastructural issues at the end of jail, and that's why there may be sometimes certain countries, if the repatriation could have been possibility, this repatriation is not being done because of the jail related situation. Now, what exactly is the recommendation? So the recommendation talks about, first is regarding the Supreme Court. So see, obviously human rights have to be upheld, right? So in every cases, the human rights are non-negotiable thing. At the same point of time, there should be the condition of prison which should be inhabitable. ऐसा ना हो कि it is completely hostile type of situation, which is ultimately not going to cause as the transformative homes, but it will create the more issues as compared to the previous individual. So establishing open prison, जहाँ पे rules comparatively relax हो, right? There is going to be more activities that these particular prison inmates might do, right? So that's why there should be more open prison. So it was in the Suhas Chakma case of 2024. Next is a data-driven rehabilitation tracking system. So see, all the prisoners should not be treated on the same scale, because some want to actually transform. For some, certain things that were done in the past were circumstantial, but some might be the habitual also. So that's why those who are, according to data, are showing certain positive trends. So there should be a data-driven rehabilitation tracking system, so that those who want to enter into the actual society, they can, or they should be allowed to. Next is Justice A. N. Mullah Committee. So this particular committee says that to set up the All India service called Indian Prisoners and Correctional service. So just say there is IAS, IPS, IFS. So like this, there should be the Indian prisons and the correctional services. Then apart from that, reducing the under trial, because generally hota kya hai, many a time it has been observed that initially the trial is going on, the conviction does not come. Maybe let's say the maximum type of punishment in that particular crime might be 8 years or 7 years. And in that case, the person is under trial for more than 7 years, but no resolution has arrived till now. And that's why there is reducing the under trials that is also being recommended by Mullah Committee. Now you can note these particular cases. The Supreme Court ne kya bola regarding open prison, A.N. Mullah Committee regarding the All India services called the Indian prison and the correctional services. Now these are the recommendation. As it is, you can quote in your answer and you will get comparatively good marks, right? Next is the Justice Amit Roy Committee regarding the special fast track court, and this is going to directly reduce the under trials. Apart from that, use of the video conferencing, because many a time what happens that there is also security related issues, and that's why if this particular video conferencing that can be done in order to try that individual or maybe in order to listen to their set of argument, it is going to reduce the pendency of the cases and the occupancy in the jails. Next, we have to talk about the challenges faced by the prisons in India. So challenges kya hai? First is overcrowding, we have already talked about. So just Delhi highest occupancy hai roughly 194%, right? Meghalaya mein it is 163%. So that shows that jitna capacity hai usse kitna zyada, roughly 194%, nearly about double of the capacity. Next is the high proportion of the under trials. Obviously, जब under trials ज़्यादा होंगे, more convictions might not come eventually out of that under trials. Means those who might be later on not decided as the culprit, but still they have served a large amount of their sentence, right? Under trial constituted of roughly 72% of the prisoner and 26%, 26% are the actual convicts. Staff shortage, because see, there is a need for the human resources in the jails, right? So there is vacancy, jail staff nahi hai, jailers ki kami hai, right? Apart from that, human resources, maybe for the food, maybe for other things, right? All these things might not be adequately available. Then unrealized budgetary utilization. So roughly 82.5% of the total annual budget is utilized. So there is the underutilization of the budget also. So suppose if you want to create certain type of things, jaise ki open prison or maybe any other type of reform, if this particular budgetary utilization is not proper, then it is going to create a difficulty in order to carry out any reform. Next is the security concern, because roughly 178 prisoners escaped during 2024. So aisa bhi nahi hai ki we can completely let them go outside, right? So in that cases, there should be the security concerns also. And lastly, limited rehabilitation. So roughly 1721 convict inmates were rehabilitated during 2024. That means this rehabilitation wala percentage is also comparatively lesser. So this thing we should be having a clear idea about, because prison is not only about to do the punitive things, it is also about the correctional aspect. And that's why if these things are properly implemented, the prisons can be reformed, and eventually those reformed prisons can create a society which is good for all. Then measures for the prison reform, there are certain measures which are being provided, and this along with the recommendation of some committees or these things जो हमने already discuss किया, you can write what are the reform measures. जैसे there is the MHA amended Model Prisons Manual and the Model Prison and the Correctional Services Act to address the caste-based discrimination within the prison across country. Because see, again, this is the, we can say to some extent, this is the reality that the system of segmentation is predominant still. Despite a lot of act, in practice it is being practiced by many such acts. अब उस चक्कर में होता क्या है कि it is not only in the general society, it is also in the prison. So there is also the segmentation of the persons who are either convict or the under trial, and in that particular cases the MHA amended the Model Prison Manual 2016 and the Model Prisons and the Correctional Services Act of 2023. तो यहाँ पे उसे equity provide करने के लिए and जो biases है that might be reduced. Next is e-prison project. So it is developed by the National Informatics Center. It is a centralized approach for recording and managing the prisoners' information, generating the report. So now there will be the data available, and based upon that particular data, if you use the artificial intelligence, you will get to know regarding the trend, regarding behavioral, the previous things or previous instances circumstances when the chaos might be created because of that particular prisoners, and you will be able to decide accordingly, right? And next is the faster, which is the fast and secured transmission of electronic records, which is the system of Supreme Court to resolve the delay in the communication of the bail order. So delay in communication of bail order, right? So these are the things regarding the under trials in India, or the prisoners in India. The last major article that we have to discuss is regarding the India's aging population and need for the long-term senior care. So see, as per the data, roughly we can say that by 2020 it was somewhere around like 8%, but as per the United Nations Population Fund, it is going to increase roughly to 20%, the old age population. And when the old age population is going to get increased, the need for more geriatric care is also bound to occur, because see, there are different set of issues that the old age population in India is facing. That's why this article is important, and UPSC have asked multiple times the question regarding the geriatric care in India, right? Now, paper 1, Indian society; paper 2, governance and social justice; paper 3, economy and human development. In all these cases, it is important article. Now, what exactly is aging? Aging is not only about increasing in terms of age, it is also about the decline in the physical and mental capacity. There will be multiple disadvantages simultaneously can occur, जिसकी वजह से there may be disease, there may be loneliness, there may be stress, there may be anxiety, and all of these things is eventually going to deteriorate the health further. So life changes such as retirement. After retirement, the situation changes. There is relocation. Maybe you have come out of your ecosystem and now you have relocated to some other place. Then the loss of friend or maybe partner. All these things may break down that particular individual, and then that particular thing might lead to the situation of stress, anxiety and loneliness. इंडिया की एल्डरली पॉपुलेशन के बारे में अगर बात करें तो 347 मिलियन की अराउंड पॉपुलेशन इज गोइंग टू इंक्रीज बाय द यूनाइटेड नेशंस पॉपुलेशन फंड व्हेन बाय 2050. सो इट विल बी रफली 20% ऑफ द इंडियाज पॉपुलेशन, एंड राइट नाउ एज पर द 2011 का डेटा इट इज 8% के अराउंड. सो दैट मीन्स इट इज गोइंग टू स्काईरॉकेट, इट इज गोइंग टू इंक्रीज multi-fold, and that's why the challenges need to be addressed. Now, what are the challenges with respect to the geriatric healthcare? पहला तो है hospital centric model. Generally होता क्या है, whenever there is, let's say, any disease that particular old age individual is facing, now we treat that as a disease, but there are many factors behind that particular disease. There may be loneliness, there may be stress, there may be dependence on the child and the children's, right? And eventually होता क्या है कि if dependence is too much, the chances of stress and anxiety further increases, right? So we do not take into these things in consideration while we are providing treatment. We are treating only the medical issue, and that's why for the geriatric care, the comprehensive set of understanding is important. Next is regarding mental health and the social isolation. So generally, when let's say you get retired, after retirement, there are chances that you might live in isolation, you might not go to the workplace, there might be the physical activity that might curtail, and eventually due to all these things, there may be certain type of deterioration of the mental health also. There may be dementia, Alzheimer, depression. There is also emptiness syndrome, जहां पर क्या होता है कि the children, because of the nuclear families in the cities, generally people come out of their homes and they form the nuclear families. So those who are residing in the actual home, maybe your grandparents or maybe parents, those might be thinking that the child has gone away, and that's why they might be feeling the sick and lonely, right? And that's why this is the empty nest syndrome. Then there is the financial insecurity, because elderly in India, many such elderlies who do not have any such type of fixed income like the pension. So 78% of the elderlies lack the pension coverage. Roughly 70% are economically dependent. So these are also the situation which create the trauma amongst the elderlies. Lastly, the feminization of the aging. So generally, देखो, this is the trend that the women lives more as compared to the men. Now, in that cases, generally it is also the trend that women comparatively owns lesser assets as compared to male, because of the patriarchal nature of society. And that's why what happens, that though they live more, but they do not possess much of the resources, and that's why they many a time they have to remain dependent, and that's why women lives often larger but having very few assets, and that's why they were considered as dependent at that point of time, right? So that is also one such issue. Now, importance क्या है geriatric health का? The first importance is regarding the quality of life, because if geriatric care is being provided, they will be able to live with dignity. There is no need to go for the dependence all the time, and that's why dignity, independence and well-being can ensure. Apart from that, it is going to help the senior citizen to maintain their self-worth and autonomy. ऐसा नहीं होगा कि they always have to be dependent on any such set of population. right? Reduce healthcare burden. Agar if you are going to directly target that what comprehensive set of ecosystem is needed, then eventually the overall health care burden is going to get come down. Chronic diseases management, because see, generally hota hai, it's not only because of the disease the person's health is getting deteriorated when he or she is the old age individual, it is because of many such things. So hypertension, diabetes, dementia, there are many a time the situations are because of the stress, anxiety, isolation, these situations gets aggravated, and these are also being highlighted by the NITI Aayog report. Jaise over 75% suffer from the chronic disease, only 18 have the insurance. This is also another issue jahan par insurance coverage nahi hai, and that's why you have to do a lot of out of the pocket expenditure. Lastly, inclusive development, family support, these are also the things jahan se we can get the further support. Now, talking about government's measures, so there is Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, right? So the free treatment benefit roughly 5 lakh per year or 6 crore citizens or senior citizens aged above 70 years, they are under this particular target. Next is National Program for the Health Care of the Elderly. So it is providing accessible, affordable and the high quality healthcare, which is dedicated service for an aging population. Next is regarding the senior care aging growth engine, SAGE portal, which is going to encourage the young entrepreneur to develop the trusted elderly care solution to enter the silver economy. And lastly, Rashtriya Vayoshri Yojana, assisted living devices, artificial limbs hoga, maybe any other type of assisted living devices. These particular things can be provided. So these are the government's measure. Now, what are the way forward? There are certain things that further can be done. Strengthening the long-term care, because generally hota kya hai, if you are targeting only that particular disease might be resolved, but then the immunity will not come till the point of time the individual is completely happy. And that's why develop the integrated elderly care system, skilled workforce, infrastructure and financing. And lastly, strengthening the digital healthcare, promoting the teleconsultation, integrated electronic health record. All these things are going to ensure comprehensive healthcare development. Okay? Now, these are certain PYQs. You can refer to these particular question, and majority of the things can be answered through the question, through the article that we have discussed. 2022 and 2020 UPSC had asked the similar type of question. Next is places in news, and here we have to talk about Suriname. Now you can see this is the South America. Here you can see a small country, Suriname. On the western side it is Guyana. In the eastern side it is the French Guiana. In the northern side, it is the Atlantic Ocean. On the southern side, it is Brazil, right? Capital city is Paramaribo, right? So Paramaribo is the capital city. Now, what exactly is the context? So India and Suriname have reviewed their bilateral ties, and that's why we are talking about the Suriname. We have seen the positioning, right? So the concerning people to people ties, Suriname's development, defense cooperation, developmental partnership. So roughly you can assume in mostly areas are being covered. Now, physical features, there are major rivers, not that important I would say, just have an idea about it, that's it. No need to mug up and go into the details. So there is quarantine, there is Suriname, there is Maroni, right? Then there is the climate which is tropical in nature, and highest peak is the Juliana top and the Wilhelmina mountains, right? So these are certain important things. I would say just have an idea regarding the Suriname, because confusion might occur whether it is in the Africa or whether it is in the South America. So just have a brief idea about this. Next, we are going to talk about other quick updates. Now, first in this is the Janani platform. So Janani, again, as the name suggests, it is regarding something related to motherhood, right? So recently, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare launched the Janani journey of antenatal. Then there is the natal and the neonatal integrated care platform, right? Now it is a service oriented digital platform to comprehensively monitor and maintain the digital health record of whom basically Janani platform is, so the women during the reproductive age, so that the reproduction or reproductive age में कोई complexities या कोई issues जो आ सकते हैं that can be removed. Right, upgraded version of the existing reproductive and the child health portal, creating the longitudinal health record by capturing the key services delivery across the continuum of care, so that this particular reproductive age should be comparatively well gone, right? Now, interoperability, it is going to be integrated with the platform like UWin portal, for the vaccination, then there is Poshan Abhiyan for the nutritional aspect, then unique identification, just there is the Aadhaar based health accounts, right? Then there is the Aadhaar OTP and the biometrics mobile number for registration. So the uniqueness can be maintained and the duplicacy can be removed. Then QR enabled digital mother and child health cards, automated alerts. So through this, the tracking can become comparatively easy. Next is the grievance redressal assessment index, right? So this particular grievance redressal assessment index is topped by Group A category, Insurance Division of Department of Financial Services, which has topped the Group A category of the GRAI, which is the Grievance Redressal Assessment Index. Who releases? Department of Administrative Reforms and the Public Grievances, Ministry of Public Grievances, right? Now, evaluates the ministerial departments on effectiveness, timelines of grievances resolution through the centralized public grievance redress and monitoring system, CPGRAM, right? So CPGRAM is basically an online platform jahan par if you are having any issues with the government services, you can escalate those particular services related things on the CPGRAM. It is based on the 4 dimensions corresponding to 11 indicator. Efficiency hai, feedback hai, domain and organizational commitment. These are the things regarding the GRAI. Next is INS Sagar Dhwani. So INS Sagar Dhwani arrived in Vietnam, marking the significant step towards the scientific cooperation. What exactly is INS Sagar Dhwani? So it is flag off for the 5th edition of the Sagar Maitri. Sagar Maitri is basically the collaborative initiative of Indian Navy, DRDO, aligned with the Mahasagar objective, which is the mutual and holistic advancement of security and growth for all in the region, which is now going extended neighborhoods, right? So this is regarding the Mahasagar's vision. So it is the specialized oceanographic research vehicle. So it is the oceanographic research vessel or research vehicle developed in 1994. Designed kahan pe hua tha? Naval Physical and the Oceanographic Laboratory, NPOL of DRDO, and built by GRSE. Right. Next is the Technology Development Board. So TDB entered into an agreement with the private firm to establish the advanced manufacturing facility for the production, commercialization of the indigenously developed type 4 composite CNG cylinder. So presently the CNG cylinders are made up of steel and that makes that particular cylinder heavy. So the composite cylinder banenge, that will be comparatively lighter in nature, so that the actual cylinder weight is going to get reduced because of the material used. So it is the next generation alternative to the conventional steel cylinders, offering up to 75% tak ka weight reduction, improved vehicle efficiency and reduced carbon emission. Right. Now, TDB जो Technology Development Board है, it is a statutory body. Which particular act? Technology Development Board Act of 1995. So that's why it is a statutory body. Department of Science and Technology, Ministry of Science and Technology. Under this particular ministry and department, it functions development and commercialization of the indigenous technology, then adaptation of the imported technology for the wider application, provides the equity capital loans to the industrial concerns. Right. Next is Hasdeo Aran forest. So this particular Hasdeo Aran forest lies in the region of Chhattisgarh. So there is a corporation of Rajasthan's state-owned electricity producer sought to divert roughly this much amount of forest. Roughly 1,742 hectares of the forest fell in 4.48 lakh of trees in the Hasdeo Aran forest. So that's why it is a thing that is leading towards the deforestation. It will eventually later on lead to the desertification also, right? So kahan par lie karta hai? Korba, Sarguja and Surajpur district of Chhattisgarh. Then Sal forest hai. It is home to the Schedule 1 species. Schedule 1 species, one of the highest protected species as per the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. Leopard hai, sloth, bear hai, elephants hai, all of them lies over here. It is often called the lungs of the central India. So Hasdeo Aran forest, lungs of the central India, where it lies in the region of Chhattisgarh. Hasdeo River and Bango Dam, dispersed corridor for the tiger, vital resource for the tribal communities. Next is uniform guidelines for the compilation of the gross state value added, GSVA, right? So it is basically to show the state ka GDP, GSDP, right? So it is represented through the gross state value added, कि वो state कितना value add कर रहा है. So through this you can compare the state. और उसके लिए जरूरी ये है कि the base year should be same. So the MOSPI has released the uniform guideline for the compilation of the gross state value added, eliminates with estimates with the base year of 2022-2023. So why it is needed? To improve the compilation of the GSVA and the gross state domestic product to ensure the consistency, comparability of the economic data across the states. Now, it is what it is going to do, because once you are going to get the data, you will be able to now assess the trend. You will be able to identify that what methodologies are being utilized, then what type of trends are emerging, right? And then you can compare different states on that particular bar, so that you will be able to understand that which state is making progress and where the issues are still occurring. Aim kya hai? To include the previously excluded UTs like Lakshadweep, Dadra and Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu for the 100% coverage. Now, significance kya hai? Significance for the GSDP estimate. So now you can compare different states on the similar lines. Now, this is regarding the uniform guideline for the compilation of the gross state value added. Next is regarding Prime Minister's Employment Generation Program, PMEGP. So it has demonstrated the robust performance during the 15th Finance Commission cycle. Now, there are some data provided, जैसे women beneficiaries कितना है? Roughly 40% of the total micro enterprises, it is the women enterprises. SC, ST, OBC category में it is 54%. Rural में 80%. That means जो प्रधानमंत्री और प्राइम मिनिस्टर एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेशन प्रोग्राम, मोर इट हैज बेनिफिटेड टू द रूरल एरियाज. कैटेगरीज में डिप्राइव्ड सेक्शन, विमेन्स, दे गॉट कंपैरेटिवली मोर बेनिफिट. मिनिस्ट्री कंसर्न कौन सी है? मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ स्मॉल, माइक्रो एंड द मीडियम enterprises. Implementation agency Khadi and the Village Industry Commission, KVIC, along with there is KVIB, then there is DIC, there is Choir Board, right? Now, what it does, it supports the prospective entrepreneurs establishing the new micro enterprises in the non-farm sector. One thing is important, non-farm sector, by providing the margin money subsidy on the bank loans. So the bank loans may subsidy, so that you will be taking bank loans in order to start your initiative, and that way you will be contributing to the development of the country. Maximum project cost allowed is 50 lakh for the manufacturing unit and 20 lakh for the service unit. The last article that we have to talk about is the Teesta River. So Bangladesh seeks China's support for the Teesta project. Now, Teesta is one such river which is in the contest between the India and Bangladesh, and that's why it is sometime in news. Just have an idea regarding Teesta. It originates in the region of Sikkim, then flows through the West Bengal, and through West Bengal it passes to the region of Bangladesh. So it is a transboundary river between India and Bangladesh, right? Origin कहाँ से होता है? Solamo Lake in the North Sikkim, then Panuri Glacier से होता है, then Khangse Glacier, Cholamo Lake also considered. So these are different sources जहाँ से it is considered that the river Teesta is originating. Then Sikkim, then West Bengal, and then Bangladesh. Major tributaries क्या है? Rangit is the main tributary of Teesta in Sikkim. Now, there was a draft agreement in 2011, but then on the opposition of the then West Bengal Chief Minister, this particular proposal was not signed, right? So, India would get the, as per this particular draft agreement, जो finalized नहीं है, India would get 42.5%, Bangladesh would get 37.5%, और जो remaining water है, roughly it will be 20%. So, that remaining water will be unallocated, right? And implementation was halted due to the objections from the West Bengal. So, at that point of time in 2011, right? So with this, we have completely discussed the article that need to be covered for 8th of May. Now see, though the articles were comparatively more content heavy, but I would recommend you that if you see it from the theme perspective, then you have got some important data, and that is also the data which is authentic, which is based upon the current national trend. And through this, you can update your answer and eventually update your notes also. So we'll meet again in another set of discussion regarding this. I hope this was helpful. Thank you.